Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and today I wanted to talk about what I would like to see improved in the next Battlefield game. I know there's already been a lot of discussion on the setting itself. Do we want it to be futuristic? Do we want it to be a World War II game? But I want to go more into the specifics. And so without beating around the bush, just jumping on in here, the first thing that I would like DICE to focus on is more of an emphasis on destruction. Levolution is pretty cool. The first time that I saw the skyscraper falling over on Siege of Shanghai, I got shivers down my spine during that trailer. But after you see it happen hundreds or thousands of times on different maps and having these Levolution moments occur, it feels more gimmicky. And so what I would rather them spend their time and the resources involved to create these moments is maybe make it so that the environments on a smaller scale are destructible. Siege of Shanghai, for having the tower fallen over, the vast majority of that map isn't very destructible. There are a couple of walls here and there, don't get me wrong, but in general, that map is very static destruction-wise. And so what I'm hoping for in the next Battlefield game is that it's more of a return to form what we had back in Bad Company. If you've never played Bad Company 2, basically every surface, with a few exceptions, but if you shot an RPG at a wall, it was going to crumble to the ground and it was going to explode. The result of this was that every round felt unique and different from all of the others. And while I'm not saying that Battlefield doesn't have longevity, I mean, I've been playing Battlefield 4 for over 1,000 hours, but what I loved about Bad Company, and even games like Rainbow Six Siege, is that because there's so much destructibility on these maps, that every round feels slightly differently, and it feels like you can actually tailor engagements and firefights to your advantage if you know how to use destruction in the right situations. And so what I'm really hoping for in the next Battlefield game is that they expand upon it. I understand from a map design standpoint that this is very challenging. If everything is fully destructible, by the end of the round, you're going to be left with no cover, which is going to result in some very lackluster gameplay. Either you're going to get shot from across the map because you can't hide, or everyone's just going to be hiding in the rubble, and it's going to turn into a camping simulator. I feel like this isn't an excuse, though, for trying to improve upon the formula and adding in more destruction. How cool would it be if you could destroy rooftops? If you know a recon is directly above you, instead of just climbing up the ladder and leaving yourself exposed, it'd be pretty awesome if you could use your RPG to cause the rooftop itself to crumble on down and they no longer have access to that sniping perch. Maybe there are some secret passageways or tunnels that wouldn't be normally accessible if you didn't use C4 to open them on up. There are so many ways they can add in destructibility to actually enhance the map and cause it to dynamically shift instead of more of the gimmicky Levolution that we have right now. And so the biggest thing that I'm hoping for in the next Battlefield game is that they can create maps that have the destruction in mind and really try to take it to the next level. Another thing I would love to see is more of a focus on killing your enemies with your primary weapons or the different vehicles in the game, and less of a focus on the weapons and gadgets that can kill you from across the map and can't really be countered. As much as I love the support class in Battlefield 4, it has some of the most annoying gadgets that have been introduced in the Battlefield franchise. The best example of this, of course, is the UCAV. The UCAV is the epitome, in my eyes, of what should not be added into a first-person shooter. When I think of an FPS, I think of people shooting at each other. If you go into a 1v1 duel, whoever has the most skill at that situation is going to come out on top, and they're going to move on over to the objective and hopefully win the round. That's a first-person shooter for me. The thing about the UCAV, though, is it tosses all of that out the window and gives you the Reaper of Death. You can sit in your deployment. People have done this and just flung UCAVs at people. And while I know that some people are going to disagree with me on this one, they actually like the spice and the flavor that these different gadgets add into the game. And I totally get that, but I guess I'm just hoping that there's less of this in the next one. What I would love is where firefights come down to actually shooting at people. Having a couple of situations where you die to a few grenades or some explosions is nice, but when there's literally this vehicle that can fly through the air and becomes Reaper and Death himself and there's no way to hide from it, I feel like that is pushing things too far. And so what I'm crossing my fingers on is that there isn't as much of that in the next Battlefield game. Something that I realize may be a little controversial, but wouldn't mind them doing, is if they split up the assault class into 2 different kits. You'd have the medic role, which uses the med bags and the defibrillators, but the twist on it is that they have only access to something like the carbines, and then you have the assault class, which uses the best weapons in the game, the assault rifles, and then has maybe the M320. The reason why I bring this up is that for the past 2 Battlefield games, a problem that we've seen reoccur is that if you have a map that is more focused on infantry-based gameplay, pretty much everyone gravitates to the assault class. It has arguably some of the best weapons in the game, and then it has arguably some of the best gadgets in the game. Being able to revive your teammates and then just give yourself more health whenever you want is a huge advantage in basically every single firefight. And so it's because of this why I feel like we might want to split up that power dynamic and make them into 2 different classes. I realize that this might be a bit controversial. It's a pretty big deviation from what we've gotten in the past 2 games, and maybe we should just go back to what it was back in Bad Company, or we should leave it as it is right now. I mean, we're just talking here. This is just one man's opinion, but I think that if they do decide to go this route, not only will it make it more interesting choice on do I want to have better weapons, or do I want to be able to heal and be more of a supportive role, but we also will hopefully not have the problem where everyone is playing only one class on particular maps or on particular game modes. The last thing that I would like to see is where maps are designed around the game mode. This was not really the case when Battlefield 4 first released. I loved Rush, but Rush was a hot mess with the launch of Battlefield 4 because they just were not tailored for it. Basically, DICE Stockholm created some really fun large conquest maps, and then they tried to shoehorn and just kind of slap in Rush and all of the other game modes that were available with Battlefield 4. The result of that was pretty lackluster. And so what I'm hoping for is that they either create a map from the ground up designed around Rush so that it's tailored for Rush from the very beginning, or if they do have to make all of the large conquest maps and kind of plop all the other game modes on in, that they go through and really try to tailor it and make it work for that game mode. To DICE LA's credit, that's basically what they did to the vanilla version of these maps. They realized that there were a lot of problems with Rush on the original maps, and they went on in and made adjustments. And so while I understand that this requires a lot more work on the parts of the map designers to really go on in and tailor it for all the game modes, but if you want them to last, if you want them to be enjoyable, I feel like this is a necessary step. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. These are just a few things that I would like to see changed in the next Battlefield game, and so I hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts on this list. Do you agree? Do you completely disagree? Do you think I'm completely off my rocker? Is there anything that you would like to see change in the next Battlefield? Let me know down below. But yep, until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.